So today we'll be going ahead with two more questions on averages itself. So I'll be sharing the screen and we'll be doing few more questions on averages. Let's begin. Now I would want you guys to give me continuous inputs and we will solve it together. I don't want to just solve it, give you the solution and you copy the solution. Okay, we won't be going that way. Let's look at the question. Swati is a student in business school. After every test, she calculates her cumulative average. Okay. FT and ES were the last two tests that she had taken. So we don't know that how many tests did she take before that, but the last two tests that she has taken in the series is FT and ES. 85 marks in FT increased her average by 2, and 77 marks in ES further increased her average by 1. QA is the next test. If she gets 55 in QA, what will be her new average? Okay. So I'll give you 2 minutes if any one of you can tell me how we can proceed on this. So did we understand that there were few tests that Swati gave? We don't know how many. Okay. We don't know how many. After that comes FT, then comes ES, and then comes QA. Okay. Let's assume that the number of tests given before FT, because we don't know the count, is N. Fine. She scored 77 in FT, 85 in ES. Sorry. I think I made a mistake here. She scored 85 in FT. She scored 77 in ES. And she is going to score 55 in QA. Okay. Now, what is happening to the average? So, I don't know the average of the previous test. Let us say the average of the previous test is equal to X. So, when FT gets added, what happens to the average?
Increases by 2.
Right, which means for these many tests, the average is X plus 2. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
And when ES gets added, what happens to the average again?
X plus 2 plus 1.
Correct. So it becomes X plus 3. Right? This is what we have as data. Now let's try to form an equation. So for the first test where FT is added, how can we form the equation? We know that average is equal to summation upon N, right? So
Yes,
in
ma'am.
that case, average is equal to, what will be the summation of marks? How will you write summation of marks? What will be?
N plus FT.
So the total marks for the first n tests would be x into n, because the number of tests is n and the average is x. So the summation has to be number into average. Did we understand this? See, we know that average is equal to summation upon n, which means summation is equal to average into n. So for the first n tests, average is x and number of tests is n. So the total number of marks would be xn. Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
The average is equal to summation upon n. Are we clear with this equation? Now what will be the second equation with ES? Come on, I want you guys to answer. Second equation when ES comes into picture.
X plus 3. Xn plus
Plus
85 plus
85 plus
77.
7.
correct divided by
N plus 2.
plus 2. Do we understand this?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have two equations, two variables. I will have to, of course, solve these two equations and find the value of x and n which satisfies this. So try solving and tell me the answer. You can cross multiply this so that your life becomes little easy.
First one will be x plus 2n is equal to 85.
What about the two part? Even this two will be there, no?
83. 83.
Correct. And the second equation, second equation would be
2x plus 3n is equal to 156.
correct, right? So I will have to simultaneously solve these equations. Solve and tell me the value of x and n.
N is 10.
Okay. And sorry, n is 10 and x would be
63.
63. Right? So we have this data now. Now it's going to be simple. If we add 55 to the entire range, what will be the new average?
Will it be x plus 4?
X plus 4. No.
847 upon 66.
Why 66?
Because 63 are the n terms. Oh, sorry, n
N terms
terms.
are 10.
Okay.
N are 10. Na? So it will be 13, no? Now the total
Yeah.
number of terms are 13 and the total number of marks would be 630 plus 85 plus 77 plus 55.
So that will be 65.15,
So it should be 65, right? Closer.
closest to 65, yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you explain how we got 13?
Sure. So there are n terms. These first n terms, we got the value as 10. And along with QA, this is 11th term, 12th term, and 13th term. So now total number of subjects is 13 subjects.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Did we all understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
This should be your total marks. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So 847 by 13 should give you the answer. Okay. All right. Moving ahead. Okay. Let's look at this. While entering the marks into a spreadsheet, which is obtained in 5 different subjects, Megha observed something peculiar. The spreadsheet was programmed to calculate the average after each score was entered, and surprisingly, every time the average calculated was an integer. In ascending order, the marks obtained by Megha were 73, 78, 82, 84, and 93. What were the fourth and the fifth marks entered by her? So these marks are not necessarily in the order that she entered, but these marks are the ascending order of the marks. Now, what is said is every time she entered the marks, the average which was calculated was always a integer. Fine. Okay. Now, how do I calculate this, or what do I understand from this? So clearly first marks can be anything. What should be the condition with the first 2 marks? When will the average of these 2 marks be integer? When will the average of first 2 marks be an integer?
When their sum is an even number?
Correct. When the sum is a even number. Correct? Right? So the only way this is possible is either I have both the odd numbers as first and second, or I have any of these uh, three numbers in the place. I'm just writing my options for you to understand. You're not supposed to, write all these things in the solution when you're solving in the exam. Do you understand these options, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, for the first 3 digits, for the average of first three to be an integer, what should be the condition?
The sum is divisible by 3.
Correct. Your sum has to be divisible by 3. So, which three numbers, when I add up, makes the sum divisible by 3? So, one is, of course, 78, 84, 93. All three are divisible by 3. So, when I add those up, my sum has to be divisible by 3. Do you agree with this? The order
Yes.
Yes.
can be different, but the numbers has to be these. Okay. Any other way? So if I take,
73 and 93.
I have to have three numbers.
Okay.
See, these three are already multiples of 3. So when I add all three of them, the result has to be a multiple of 3. Agreed with that first?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if I take any two out of these three and one number which is not a multiple of 3, all the three will never be a multiple of 3. Did you understand this logic?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I take the remaining two, let's say 73 and 82, it gives me 155. So does any of the remaining numbers when added gives you a multiple of 3 is what I want you to check. This is already 155, right? So if I do 155 and um, 78, I don't think it is going to give you. Right? 155 and 84. It's not possible because 155 itself is not a multiple of 3. So adding any number which is a multiple of 3 will not give you the summation. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am. So we need to add up the numbers that are themselves divisible by 3, and then only their sum can be divisible by 3.
Yes. Or either both are not divisible, but they combinedly make it divisible. So for example, if I add up 7 and 5, combination is divisible by 3. But if you add a 3 divisible number with a non-3 divisible number and you add it up, it is not possible that the summation will be divisible. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
So clearly the only option for the first three numbers is 78, 84 and 93 in any order. I'm still not sure of the order. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So now if you go to the first and the second, I know that the first three numbers have to be out of these three numbers. So can you say this option gets eliminated?
Yes, ma'am.
Even this option gets eliminated?
Yes, ma'am.
And even this option gets eliminated.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first two numbers have to be either 78 or 84. Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
See, if you're not getting anything, please stop me and ask. So the third number is definitely 93. And this has to be 78 or 84. 84 or 78. Are we clear? Okay.
Ma'am, so here itself we can eliminate the options because it's asking us for the fourth and fifth marks.
Correct. Perfect. So I'm going to do that only now. So because fourth and fifth are asked, this option, my this option and my this option gets eliminated. So clearly fourth and fifth have to be 73 and 82. But because only one option is there, I don't care about the order. So this is again logical question. Moving ahead. All right, let's check this question. Suresh appears for a certain number of tests. His average score increases by 1 if the first 10 tests are not considered and decreases by 1 if the last 10 tests are not considered. If the average scores for the first 10 and the last 10 tests are 20 and 30 respectively, what are the total number of tests taken by him? Okay, so let us first consider that these are 10 tests whose average score is 20. At the end also there are 10 tests whose average score is 30, and in between there are n tests. I don't know the value of n. Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Uh, Now let's say the average score of these n tests is x. Now let us try to understand what is given to us. His average score increases by 1 if the first 10 tests are not considered. Okay, instead of taking x as the average of the n tests, I would say that let us take x as the average of all the tests together. Okay, now let us see what happens. If I do not consider the first 10 tests, the average increases by 1. So average becomes x plus 1 if first 10 tests are not considered. So average is equal to summation upon n. If first 10 tests are not considered, what would be the summation of the remaining tests?
10 into 30 plus n into,
This is going to be a problem, no?
yes.
Sure. Let us try taking a variable y over here. Let's say ny. Let us see if that gets eliminated somehow or not. This is my first equation upon, so summation upon n, where n is n plus 10. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And second is if last 10 tests are not considered, the average decreases by 1. So the average becomes x minus 1 if last 10 tests are not considered. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So let us try to solve this equation because denominator is same on both the sides. Um, what I can do is I can write both the equations in the form of denominator. So n plus 10 is equal to 300 plus ny upon x plus 1. And in other case also n plus 10 is equal to 200 plus ny upon x minus 1. I don't think we're going to land up eliminating all the three variables, are we?
No, ma'am, since there are three, so it's a little complicated.
It is complicated. So I'm thinking for some other way if we can approach. His average score increases by 1 if the first 10 tests are not considered. Okay. So yesterday we did a method, Gauri, you remember when we added elements and removed elements?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's try to do by that method. So if I, from the entire n tests, if with an average of x, if I remove the first 10 tests, right? So the value of the first 10 tests is 200. So when these 200 is removed, it the average increases by 1, which means they take equal to the average. minus they are leaving out 1 for the remaining. Okay. All right. I think Gauri will be able to relate to what I just wrote. So, yesterday we did a method. I'll just do a quick recap of that method. Where let's say if there are 10 students with an average of 10 chocolates in a class, okay. So, if one student goes out with 10 chocolates, the average of the remaining will not change because he has taken equal to the average. So, average of the remaining students will not change. But if one student goes out and the average of the remaining decreases by 1, which means what has he done, Gauri?
He has taken 19 chocolates with him.
Correct. He has taken his share of 10 chocolates plus he has taken 1 chocolate from each. Correct? And if one student goes out and the average of the remaining increases by 1, which means he has taken his share of 10 chocolates, but from that he has given one extra to each in the class. So he has taken with himself only 1 chocolate. Fine. Let us try to reapply this concept over here. I'm just going to erase the screen and rework this entirely. Fine. Just a second. Okay. So let us try to reapply the concept. What is told over here? Let us say that the total number of tests is n and the total average for the all the tests is x. Now, his average score increases by 1 if the first 10 tests are not considered. So out of this entire group, first 10 tests, the average is 20, which means the total of the first 10 tests is 200. So if first 10 tests equivalent to first 10 students are moving out of the class, they are taking 200 with him. But when they do so, the average of the class increases by 1, which means they must be giving 1 to the remaining students and going out. Do we understand this? So
Yes.
200 is equal to my old average minus I'm giving 1 extra to the remaining students of the class, which is nothing but n minus 10. Gauri, did you understand this equation?
Ma'am, n minus 10 here is the total tests.
Left.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay.
So it is
Got it.
equivalent to 9 students left. So I'm giving 1 extra to each 9 students out of my share of 10x. And that equals to 200. Next is
Yeah.
it decreases by 1 if last 10 tests leave the class. So last 10 tests, it is 300. What should be the equation, Gauri?
Uh, 10x
Hmm.
minus, oh, it's decreasing. So it will be plus 1 into n minus 10.
Correct. Because the average is decreasing, which means they are taking extra from the remaining people. So 10x plus they are taking this much extra. So this 200 or 300 is equal to old average plus the extra that they are taking. So now if I solve these two equations, let us try to solve these two equations. 200 is equal to 10x minus n plus 10. So what am I getting is 10x minus n is equal to 190. Next equation, 300 is equal to 10x plus n minus 10. So what am I getting?
10x plus n is equal to 310.
Okay. So if I add both these equations, 20x is equal to 500.
500.
So
So
x is
25.
25. If I put in any one of the equations, what will I get? 250 minus n is 190. So your n becomes 60. And I think this is what is asked to you.
It's the total test. So it'll be 60 plus 20.
No, so in this case, I have taken my total tests as n. Oh God. In this case, I had taken my total tests as n and my total average as x. That is why when I wrote the equation, I wrote 200 is 10x minus n minus 10 into 1. Because total test was n. That is why when I ignored the first 10 tests, my remaining tests became n minus 10.
Yes, got it.
Got it? So your n is coming down to 60. Sorry, I just by mistake erased the solution. If you want, I can write the equations again for you. Solving should not be a problem. Are we getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hannah, Rachel, did you understand little bit or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Moving ahead, let's try this. Rakesh and Girish are among 10 students who writes a CAT exam. Rakesh scores 10. The average score of the 9 students other than Girish is 6. Okay. And the average score of all the 10 students is zero point 0.5 more than the average score of the 9 students other than Rakesh. I think this is doable. Rakesh score we know and Girish's score is asked. What are the two things told to me? The average score of the other 9 students except Girish is 6. So other 9 students except Girish, let me say the total of those 9 students, total of those, let's say, remaining 8 students is I'm going to take as x because 8 students are the remaining students except Rakesh and Girish. So I'm going to take the score, the total score of the remaining 8 students except these two as x. So now how do I form the equation for this statement? Average of the remaining 9 student other than Girish is 6. What will be the equation? This is simple. Come on. Average is equal to summation upon n. Average is x. How many students are we talking about? 9. Right?
X plus 10
Very good.
plus Girish.
Did we understand this?
Okay.
This is the 9 students I'm talking about, where the remaining 8 students, the total is x, and Rakesh, the score is 10. So summation is x plus 10 upon 9 is gives you the average of 6, which tells you your x is 44.
44.
Did we understand this much part? So basically 8 students total is 44. Then Rakesh total is 10 and Girish we don't know. Did we get this?
Ma'am, instead of forming this equation, we can simply take the total of the 9 students, which is 9 into 6, and minus Rakesh's marks.
That is it. I mean, that is what has happened.
Yeah.
Okay, you can think it that way also. Now the next thing, the average score of all the 10 students is 0.5 more than the average score of 9 students other than Rakesh. So how do we form an equation for this? Let's say Girish's score is G. I don't know his score yet. So how do I form the equation of average of all 10 students?
44 plus 10 plus G upon 10.
Correct. So 54 plus G upon 10 is zero point 0.5 more. So it is 0.5 more than the average score of the 9 students other than Rakesh. How do I form the equation for 9 students other than Rakesh?
44 plus G
Hmm,
upon 9.
correct. So now I want you to solve and tell me the answer for G.
G is 1.
Yeah, apparently it is 1. Is everybody getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then let's move ahead. Okay, let us look at this. The arithmetic mean is nothing but average. The arithmetic mean of scores of 25 students in a examination is 50. 5 of these students top the examination with the same score. And if the scores of the other students are distinct integers with the lowest being 30, then what is the maximum possible score of the toppers? Now, I have 25 students with me, where 5 students are toppers with the maximum score. Okay. And remaining are the other 20 students, where the lowest score is 30 and all of them have distinct scores. So these are other 20 students I'm talking about. Okay. And I know that the average of all these 25 students is 50, which means what will be the total of all the students' scores?
1250.
Correct. 25 into 50, which gives you 1250. Okay. Now you tell me that if I have been asked that what is the maximum possible score of the toppers. So if I want to maximize the score scored by the toppers, what should I be doing with the score of the remaining 20 students? Because my total is fixed. My total for all the 25 students is fixed at 1250. So if I want to maximize the scores of these 5 students, what should happen with the scores of the remaining 20 students?
They should be the least,
They
maybe
should be the
30.
least possible. Correct? But I am told that they are distinct integers with lowest being 30. So if I want all 20 to be least, how is that possible?
Everyone scoring a 30.
They can't score 30 because all are distinct.
Okay. So 30, 31, 32, 33.
Correct. It has to go on like this for 20 numbers. Do we understand this?
Yes.
For this part. Okay, so I will first have to find the total of this. What is the total of this that I will get? Um, so this you can do with a simple formula also, which is formula for arithmetic progression. But if you don't know that formula as of now, I might have to do it manually. Okay, so 30, say if I consider 20 terms, till what number will it go up to?
50,
49,
49.
right? So it's 20 terms. It has to go from 30 to 49. So one way of calculating it is if you know the summation of n terms ka formula from 1 to n, if I want to take the summation of n terms, the formula is n plus 1 divided by 2. If I want to take the summation from 1 to 49, it will be 49 into 50 by 2, which will give you the summation from 1 to 49, from which I want to remove the summation from 1 to 29. So that will be minus 29 into 30 by 2. Did we understand what I did? This formula is used for summation of numbers from 1 to n. So I did summation from 1 to 49 minus 1 to 29 will give me the summation from 30 to 49. Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
So can you calculate and tell me the answer?
$790.
790 is the answer, which means the total of these 20 numbers is 790, correct? So the total of the remaining 5 numbers has to be 1250 minus 790. Is everybody with me? I'm going slow, step by step.
460.
460. So what can be the each mark if for the total, for the 5 students, if the total is 460, what can be the maximum mark scored by each one of them?
92 if each one scores 92.
And each one has to score 92 because all of them score same.
Okay.
Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
My answer here is going to be 90. Okay. Any questions here?
Clear, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Moving ahead. In a football tournament, a player has played a certain number of matches and 10 more matches are to be played. If he scores a total of 1 goal over the next 10 matches, his overall average will be 0.15 goals per match. So let's say he has already played n number of matches. Okay, and 10 more matches are to be played. And let's say he has scored X goals in these n matches. Okay, so let's form the first equation. His overall average will be 0.5 goals per match. So average is equal to summation upon n. What will be the total summation of goals?
X into n plus 10.
No. Okay. Average is for goals per match. So your average goals is equal to total goals upon number of matches. Do we understand this?
Yes.
So I have assumed that for the previous matches, his total goals was X for n number of matches. So now the total number of goals will be X plus 1
Yes.
and the total number of matches will be n plus 10.
N plus 10. Okay.
Okay. Next is, on the other hand, if he scores a total of 2 goals over the next matches, his overall average will be 0.2 goals per match. So average is equal to total number of goals per match. Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
So now what will I have to do? 2 equations, 2 variables I'll have to solve. Clearly, you are supposed to find the number of matches he has played, which means n plus 10 is what you are supposed to find. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so both these equations, because denominator is same, both equations can be written in terms of n plus 10. X plus 1 upon 0.5 is equal to x plus 2 upon 0.2. So if I want to remove denominator decimal from both the side, I'll make this as 0.20. So now both becomes 15 upon 100 and 20 upon 100. I can ignore my decimals. So this becomes 20 into x plus 1. I'm skipping certain steps, but if you are not able to understand, please tell me and I will tell you the intermediate steps. This becomes 15 into x plus 2. Understood? So x is equal to,
Ma'am, can you
yeah.
explain the steps?
So from here, from instead of 0.2, I wrote 0.20. Doesn't make a difference. Why I did that? Because if I write 0.15 as 15 by 100 and 0.20 as 20 by 100, I can ignore the by 100 part on both the sides. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Now if I cross multiply, this becomes 20 into x plus 1. This becomes 15 into x plus 2. Agreed?
Got it, ma'am. Clear.
Okay. All right, so x is equal to 2. Now I just need to put it in one of the equation to find the value of n plus 10. I know n plus 10 is x plus 1 upon 0.15. I'll just put that 3 upon 0.15 is 15 into 100, which gives you n plus 10 is equal to 20. You might make a mistake of writing n as your answer, but always read what is asked. Number of matches he has played is the total number of matches. So even those last 10 matches need to be added.
Got it, ma'am.
Yes? Any questions, anybody?
Clear, ma'am.
Let's go to the next question. Onions is sold for 5 consecutive months at the rate of 10, 20, 25, 25, 50 per kg respectively. Okay. A family spends a fixed amount of money on onion for the first 3 months and then spends half that amount on the onion for the next 2 months. The average expense for onion in rupees per kg for the family over these 5 months is closest to. Okay. So there, I have no information about the amount of onions bought, but I know that the total money that the family is spending is what? So what I can clearly is a very simple question actually. Um, let's say if I talk about the rate of onion per month, it is 10, 20, 20, 25, 25, and 50. I know that the family is spending the same amount for the first 3 months, right? So let me try and assume an amount which is divisible by all these numbers. Can you tell me any number which is divisible by all these numbers?
100.
100. So let me say that the family is spending 100 rupees for the first 3 months and spends half the amount for the next 2 months. Let's say 50 rupees and 50 rupees. Are we getting what I just did? So if I spend this much money, can you tell me the quantity of onion consumed in every month? So what will be the quantity here in kgs?
10.
Then second month,
5.
third month,
4.
fourth month,
2.
and fifth month is
1.
1. Did we understand? Now what is asked to me? Average expense for onion in rupees per kg. So clearly my average is nothing but my total amount spent upon total kgs consumed. What is my total amount spent
400.
and what is the total kgs consumed?
22.
So what does this average comes closest to? They have said closest to, so doesn't matter. What does this come closest to? So this is 200 by 11. 11 ones are 11. 11 eights are 88. So I think closest is 18. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Did
Yes.
you understand the method?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's a simple way to do it. Moving ahead. There are two sections A and B of a class consisting of 25 and 32 students respectively. If the average weight of section A is 38 and average of section B is 35, what would be the average weight of the whole class? I think this is pretty simple. How would you do this? Concept of weighted average.
38 into 25
Correct.
upon 25. For the first,
I want the average weight of the entire class, no, which consists of section A and section B. So how do you do weighted average? Multiply weights upon total number of students,
25 plus 32, 57.
right? So I'll have to do this calculation. What are you getting? Do not use calculators even if you are tempted to. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Right? What should you get?
36.3.
This is a simple, very, very simple, straightforward weighted average question. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving ahead. There is a class of 40 boys and 20 girls. In a mid-semester examination, the average score of the girls was 12 higher than the boys. And in the final examination, the average score of the girls dropped by 4, while the average score of the entire class increased by 2. What is the increase in the average score of the boys? Now, this is again a slightly practical question. See, initially there are 40 boys, 20 girls. Okay. I am told that the in the mid-semester examination, the average of the girls was 12 higher than the boys. Let's say the average of boys was B, so the girls became B plus 12. This is about the mid-semester exam. Fine. In the final exam, what happened is the average of the girls dropped by 4 and the average of the entire class increased by 2. So average of the boys increased by how much is what is asked. So if I have all the data in terms of the change itself, if you see this entire data is in terms of the change, I can directly compare the changed part. I do not need to compare from the beginning. What do I mean by this is, let's say the increase in the average of the boys scored is X. So if the increase is X, the total increase in the marks will be x into 40. Do you agree with this?
Yes, ma'am.
And the total decrease in the marks of girls will be 4 into 20. And this will give you the total increase in the marks of all the students. So this equation is only in the form of a change. This equation does not give you the total score, it just gives you the change in scores. If I have the information about the change, I can directly compare the change on the left hand side and the right hand side. So your 40x becomes 120 plus 80, which is 200, which means your x becomes 5. So the increase in the average score of the boys is 5. Did we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you don't need to do the entire calculation here because they have asked you in terms of increase. Moving ahead, 3 classes X, Y, and Z take an algebra test. The average of X is 83, average of Y is 76, average of Z is 85. Average of X and Y together is 79. So what does this mean? See, when I say average score in the class, does this mean that all the 3 classes have same number of students?
No, ma'am.
No. So that is the catch over here. We do not know about the number of students, right? So when I say average of the students in the classes X and Y together is 79, it means, let's say if the total number of students in each class is small xyz, it basically means your 83 into x plus your 76 into y upon your x plus y is 79. Did we understand this equation first?
Yes, ma'am.
Your total of x plus your total of y upon your total number of students is gives you the average as 79. This is one way of doing it. I find the value of x and y and I go ahead. Now there is one more way of doing it. We have not learned that method. It comes basically in your allegation mixtures, but I think this is a good example where I can introduce that method to you. Okay, so whenever you have any two things and you are taking an average, a weighted average, there is one more way of writing it down. Just pay attention to it. X and Y are two things. Okay, what is the average of X? 83. What is the average of Y? 76. And what is their combined average? 79. You always write it in middle. Now, what is the difference between 83 and 79?
4.
4. And what is the difference between 76 and 79?
3.
3. So, this ratio that you are getting is nothing but the ratio of number of students between X and Y. Now, the students can be 3 and 4 also. Students can be 30 and 40 also. Students can be 300 and 400 also. But your average of 79 will not change. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Even if you solve this equation, you will get your answer as x upon y is equal to 3 upon 4. So similarly, if I want to find ratio of students between y and z, what would I write over here? Y is 76, z is 85. What is their average?
81.
81. So the difference here is 5 and the difference here is 4. Okay, so can I say the ratio of students in XYZ is 3 is to 4 is to 5? Do we get this?
Yes.
Okay, now I am asked the average score of all the three classes. So average, so if I assume every class having 3, 4 and 5 students respectively, your average score of all the three classes will be what? 83 into 3 plus 76 into 4 plus 85 into 5 for the total scores in all the three classes divided by total number of students in all the three classes, which is 12. Did we understand this? So tell me the answer what you are getting.
$81.5.
Okay. All right. Moving ahead. The average of the three-digit terms in the arithmetic progression is. Now, what is arithmetic progression that we don't know? What is arithmetic progression? So whenever you
When there's a pattern in the numbers
and
are increasing.
what is the pattern? So specifically arithmetic progression, the pattern is the difference between the numbers should be same. If you see 55 and 38, what is the difference?
17.
Similarly, 55 and 72. Okay, so this is the pattern. Now, average of all three-digit terms. So if I keep on adding 17, what will be the next number? 89. If I add 17 again, what will be the next number?
106.
106, which means your first three-digit number starts from 106. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you clearly observe all these numbers are of the format 17x plus 4. See, 17 into 2, 34 plus 4, 38. 17 into 3, 51 plus 4, 55. 17 into 4, 68 plus 4, 72. Because the difference is 17, the format of the number will always be of the form 17x plus something. Do you get this?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is this number? It is 17 into
6 plus 4.
okay. Now I need to go till the value where my three-digit numbers end. Correct?
Yes.
So the greatest number that I can have is 17x plus 4 has to be lesser than 1000. Do you all agree with this?
Yes.
Where 17x has to be less than 996. So your x has to be less than 996 by 17. What is this coming down to approximately? If you use the table of 17,
58.
58 exact?
No, ma'am. 58.5.
Okay. Which means the greatest value that x can take is 58. Do you understand this, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
So it goes from 17 into 6 plus 4 to 17 into 58 plus 4. So how many terms from 6 to 58? How many terms?
52.
I think 53 terms. Think why?
N plus 1.
Because you're including 6 also and 58 also, no?
Yes.
It will be n plus 1 terms. Are
Yes,
you with
ma'am.
me till here?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now see, all these numbers are equidistant. So yesterday, Gauri, we learnt one concept. If the numbers are equidistant, what can you say about the average of those numbers?
Average remains constant.
Let's say for these 5 numbers that I've written on the screen, 38, 55, 72, 89, 106. If you have to calculate the average of these 5 numbers, what will it necessarily come down to?
72.
So now we remember, if the numbers are equidistant, the average is always the center number. Agreed?
Yes.
So if these are 53 terms, can I necessarily say that the average will always be the 27th term?
Yes.
Okay, so if I have to calculate 27th term starting from 6, what will it be? 17 into what? Plus 4. Agreed? 6 is the first term, right? And 58 is the 53rd term. Do we understand what I'm trying to do over here?
Yes.
So if I have to come to the middle term, which is the 27th term in just this much part of my progression, my 27th term, where if I have to start from 6, has to be 32. Agreed? 6 plus 27 is 33, but I'm including 6 also. So if I include 6 also, my 27th term has to be 32.
Yes.
So this has to be the average of what they are asking. So you'll have to calculate this to find your answer. I think not everybody has understood this. I don't know. I have a feeling.
Ma'am, the last part after finding 27th term.
Okay. So how to find the 27th term is what you didn't get.
No, I got that.
This you got. This you didn't get.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So see, you have to find the 27th term where your first term is 17 into 6 plus 4. So 17 into 6 plus 4 is the first term. 17 into 7 plus 4 will be the second term. 17 into 8 plus 4 will be the third term, and so on. If 6 is the first term, 7 is the second term, 8 is the third term, what will be your 27th term? So if you start from 1 to 27, instead of starting from 1 to 27, I'm starting from 6 to. So I'm shifting by 6 numbers.
Okay, so we need to add 27 plus 6, which gives you 32.
That gives you 33 actually.
33.
But if I'm considering 6 as my first term, actually I have let go of my first 5 numbers, right? So from 27 also, I will have to go ahead by 5 numbers. मैंने क्या किया? My number system from 1 to 27, I have shifted by 5 numbers. So it starts from 6 and now ends at 32. Parallel shift.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yes? Any other question?
Got it, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Moving ahead. I think again a similar type of question.
Yes, ma'am. So here we'll only consider the increased and the decreased part.
Correct. So if the increase dropped by 3 hai, so minus 30 into 3, and let's say average of the boys is increasing by x, so x into 20 results in the overall average to increase by 2. This is what you will have to consider as your equation. So 20x is 100 plus 90, 190. Your x is 9.5. Simple. That quick it can go.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. Let's go to the next question. In a list of 7 integers, one integer is unknown. The other 6 integers are 20, 4, 10, 4, 8, 4, and x. The mean, median, and mode of these 7 integers are arranged in increasing order and they form an arithmetic progression. Okay, interesting. Mean, median, and mode forms an arithmetic progression. First of all, how do I calculate mean of the numbers?
Sum upon the number of units.
Correct. So what will be the sum over here?
50 plus x.
Correct. So your mean is going to be 50 plus x by 7. Agreed? Fine. What will be the mode in this case?
4.
Irrespective of the value of x? Yes?
Currently, yes.
Even whatever the value of x will be, the mode will always be 4. Agreed? Because no other value will exceed the frequency of 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now, for the median part, I'll have to arrange these numbers in ascending order, right? How do I calculate median?
The middle term plus n by 2.
Okay. Uh, so now the problem is x. Okay, where will this x lie? Fine. So let's say if x is somewhere here, the median becomes 4. I'm just writing the possibilities of median. Okay. If x is 4 itself, the median is still 4. Agreed?
Yes.
If x is here, the median can become x.
Yes.
And if x is here, then median can become 8.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And if x is here, median will still be 8. Or here, median will still be 8. Are we clear with what I just did?
Yes, ma'am.
So there
Yes,
are
ma'am.
3 possibilities of median: x, 4, and 8. Now let us try to see what the condition is. If the mean, median, and mode of these 7 integers are arranged in increasing order, they form an arithmetic progression. And of course, x is also an integer. So first of all, for the mean to be an integer, my 50 plus x has to be a multiple of 7.
Yes.
What are the possibilities for x in this case?
6.
Can x be 1? No, x can have 6 is one possibility. What else?
13.
13.
20.
And it goes on, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. For median, we said that either the value is x. So x will be the value only if x is less than 4. Agreed? In median, median is equal to 4 if x is less than 4. Median is equal to x if x is between 4 and x, 4 and 8. And median is equal to 8 if x is greater than 8. Did we understand this condition?
Yes.
So if x is less than 4, which is not a case only, so median can never be 4. If x is between 4 and 8, let's say x is 6, then the median also becomes x. Is that possible?
Yes.
Let us see that condition. So if x is 6, this becomes 50 plus 6, 56 by 7, which is 8. In that case, median becomes 6 and mode becomes 4. This is a correct arithmetic progression. So one possible value of x is 6. Are we okay with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the only value possible between 4 and 8 is 6. So this is done. Now for all the values greater than 8. So if x is 13, this becomes 50 plus 13, 63 by 7, which is 9. So median becomes 8 and mode becomes 4. Is this possible? Is this a AP?
No, ma'am.
No. But if x is 20, 50 plus 20 becomes 10. In this case, median becomes 8 again and mode is 4. Is this possible?
No, ma'am.
So the only way it is possible now, because x is always greater than 8, I know that my median is 4 and 8 and my mode is 4. So my mean has to be, my mean has
Oh,
to be 12,
wait.
correct?
Yes.
For my mean to be 12, my x has to be
84. So 20.
34.
84, 34. Yes.
So these are the only two possible values of x.
Yes.
So the summation of all possible values of x is 40. This is a really nice question. Moving ahead. All right. The mean of 6 positive integers is 15. Sorry. Sam said the mean is 15. So can I say the summation of integers is 90? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
The median is 18 and the only mode of the integers is less than 18. What is the maximum possible value of the largest of 6 integers? So let's say if I arrange the 6 integers in ascending order, the median is 18, which means the average of these two has to be 18. Okay, if this is in ascending order, and the only mode is less than 18, which means there is only one number which repeats itself, right? No other number repeats. That is why they have only one mode, which is less than 18. Now I know that the summation of all these is 90, and I want to find the maximum possible value of the largest integer. Now, how do I proceed with this? So clearly, if this has to be maximum, I will have to minimize all the other integers. Do you agree with that? Because
Yes,
my
ma'am.
summation is constant, which is 90. Now I know that the average of these middle two integers is 18. So what should be the summation of the middle two integers?
36.
36. Okay. Now I am told that the only mode of the integers is less than 18. So can I take these two integers considering the mode? So what can be the minimum value of these two integers?
32.
Did you understand what I did? All are positive integers and there is only one mode, which means there is only one number which is repeating. So if I want to minimize it, the minimum value can be 1.
Yes.
Are we getting it? Okay. Now, if this is 36 and that is the only mode, can I say these numbers can be, let's say, 17, 19 like this? Because I can't take 18, 18. Do we get it?
Yes.
I can take either 17, 19. I can take 16 and let's say 20. I can take 15 and 21, but I can't take 18, 18. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Okay, now I want this to be maximum, which means this still has to be minimum. Now, what is the summation of these four numbers already? It is 38, which means what should be the summation of the remaining two numbers?
52.
52. Okay, so if this is 19 and I know that the numbers are written in ascending order, the minimum I can put here is 20. Agreed? So the maximum here becomes 32. Agreed?
Yes.
But if I take 16 and 20, the minimum becomes 21, and that is why the maximum here becomes 31, which is not the maximum possible value. So as and when you move forward here, your value will not become maximum, but it will keep on reducing. So what is the maximum possible value?
32.
32. Next question.
Yes.
Okay. Radhika, nowadays the talk of the town. Analyze the monthly expense figures of 5 of her friends. All the expense figures are in integers. If the mean and the median of the figures is 6,000, see, let's try to write it again. So if mean is 6,000, what will be the total? You tell me now.
30,000.
30,000. And even median is 6,000, right? And the only mode is 9,000. Which options can be the summation of highest and lowest? In such questions, no, always write in ascending order. And I know that the total is 30,000. So because I'm writing in ascending order, median 6,000 has to be the center value. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The only mode is 9,000. So where can 9,000 go? Where can 9,000 be?
The last.
Last two. Because if it is a mode, it has to repeat at least twice.
Yeah.
Agreed? All of us. So this total is already how much? 9, 9 and 6.
24.
So the remaining total has to be 6. Right?
Yes.
So what are the options for these two values to be 6? 6,000, I mean.
2,000 and 4,000.
Okay, so
One
one option is
4,000.
2,000, 4,000. Another option is
3,000.
1,000 and 5,000. Any other option?
No.
You can't have 3, 3 because then you have one more mode which is not possible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I am asked what is the summation of the highest and the lowest? So highest and the lowest, The summation can be either 9 plus 2, 11 or 9 plus 1, 10. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
But 10 is not there in the option, so my answer is 11,000. Okay, then let's do one more question. Okay, let's look at this. Ramesh analyzed the monthly salaries of 5 presidents of his company. All the figures are integers. I think this is also similar to the last question that we did.
Yes, ma'am.
This you can manage. The mean is 5. So 5 5s are 25 should be the total. The median is also 5 and the only mode is 8. Yes? Do we get this? Or do you want me to explain this?
No, ma'am.
Great.